All right. Nobody's here just yet, but we'll start the introductions once a few people show up. This is a bit early. Looks like we got 2 viewers, or at least that's what I'm seeing right now. So, all right, we do a few introductions to start with. My name is Jay. I own Section8Consulting.com. I help people from around the nation that are struggling to get housing, specifically dealing with housing authorities, HUD, and Section 8. I help them achieve their goal. And in a lot of situations, when we're talking about Section 8 and how that works, is you really have to focus on what is considered, preferential points to get higher or lower on these lists. Now, the pandemic, 20 years of doing this. So you look at this pandemic now and how that's affected everything. It's changed a lot, including the way that I operate. And I've had to really rethink how we're working with people. So before I get too far in, I want to make sure, I just started using a new camera. I want to make sure you guys can hear me. So please let me know. And the second thing I want to let you know is this is a live chat. You're able to find a chat window, whether you're on your phone, your laptop, or just regular desktop computer. And you can type in questions and answers and so on that you may have about Section 8, the Housing Authority, or HUD, okay? Beyond that, I'm going to be chatting back with you, some of you guys. You'll ask questions now, and I'll get to those in a few minutes. Now, beyond that, the premise of the video was specifically to address the housing crisis. Of course, there's a crisis across the country, but I think the bigger focus right now is the market has been flooded by vouchers. All this money, everybody's waiting. And now a lot more people are getting vouchers, but the problem that has always existed since 2000 is there's never enough landlords. And so we've compounded the problem, obviously, with, so many different vouchers, and there's just literally nowhere to rent in certain areas of the country. In addition to that, the housing market itself, whether you were Section 8 or not, the people that own these homes and buildings and other commercial buildings, that market's been on fire since early January. So all these properties have been bought up. The prices have been driven up, 10, 20, some cases over 30%. And then what we have is a lot of people that are now being evicted. And then the other section of people that are struggling with these housing vouchers are getting them easier because there's more, they're getting more. But I think the experience most people are having is I can't find a house with a voucher. And so a lot of housing authorities are knowingly issuing these things like toilet paper, knowing that there's nowhere for these people to rent. There's no landlord out there. And so with a lot of my clients, I'll put it to you very simply, prior to this pandemic back in 19, maybe in 20, I had a system of things that I would do to help you better find housing. But now I'm recommending simply this. You have to literally consider living in different places. If you tell me, hey, Jay, I live in Jersey and I'm only willing to live in this county and that county, that's not good enough anymore. You have to be willing to go wherever you can get housing at this point. The market is absolutely flooded. Waiting lists have doubled, tripled, sometimes even 10x'd. In other areas of the country, they're printing vouchers like there's no tomorrow. And then the secondary issue is, where the hell do you find a landlord anymore? So prior to the pandemic, the bigger issue was trying to find housing vouchers. Now the bigger issue is, where do I find a place? Because we've got so many more people, up to 40 million new people that are now looking for housing. So prior to this, we take the regular numbers, the average number of people that were looking to use a housing choice voucher. Let's take that times it by 2, 3, even 5 times. And so now the market's flooded with people all looking for the same thing, but there's just not enough properties. So going back to what I was saying about Section8Consulting.com and what I do is I work with clients. I think that the bigger mission now is not so much trying to manipulate the process, the procedures, data manuals, and other things that I utilize against housing authorities to give you a better ranking with vouchers. But I think the bigger question now is the housing search itself. Who's actually good at this? Is it going to be the real estate agent? Well, I don't know. I've got several hundred that on a near constant basis contact me. We're talking about investors, brokers, real estate agents, all coming to me trying to figure out what to do. They're great at selling market rate, but when it comes to dealing with Section 8, they're lost. Same thing with an attorney. Talk with a lady today. hey, Jay, look, we have a law firm, we do this, and we do that, right? But here's the deal. I went to law school, learned the law, but I'm not tuned up when it comes to Section 8. So a lot of attorneys defer to me because they'd rather not spend the next 2 years of their life reading 100,000 pages to figure out what I know. So you see, we all work together, kind of in a circle, just like housing advocates. The only thing housing advocates do, or they're obviously attorneys and they're new, they fight your cases, but the reality of it is they don't know a fraction of what I know. What they do know and what they're exceptional at is obviously the eviction end of it. But outside of that, they're like schoolgirls in a yard. They don't know what they're doing or how they're going to do it. So we're going to go many different directions in this video. That's why it's live. So I'm going to let you guys know, it tends to be a little bit long-winded, but I like to talk about a number of different things to make it interesting. And then, of course, address all the different questions that people have. So I'm going to start by answering, looking at a few questions here and see what people have to say. So in the live chat window, October Dawn, it's good to see you. I'm glad you could join us. And yes, I got a new haircut. By the way, guys, this haircut, most of you have been seeing me since the beginning of this YouTube channel, years going back. I always had a shaved head. So let me show you real quick. Here's the new gold. And like I told you, I like to take the videos in many different directions. Now, obviously, I'm not these two guys, but you see the hairstyles they have like that. Now, I'm not going to be that flashy, but you get an idea. That's what I'm growing out to look like. Kind of like the highlight version of that fella, and then kind of short like that. I'm not saying exactly that way, but that's what we're aiming for. I'm getting away from the military or just released from prison hairdo, trying to go back to something a little bit more normal. So, all right, going down. Mary Ogla Gonzalez. I appreciate you speaking to me in Spanish. I regret to inform you after 20 years of being here, I know hundreds of Spanish words, but I still cannot do a comprehensive sentence in Spanish. I will work on that, obviously, in the future to get other people that represent the Spanish community to pair with me in these videos so I can assist everybody, but it's not present at this moment. Kiss My Dark Sky. Welcome to the channel, and hello. T. Alkany, do you think the crisis could allow for vouchers to be used instead towards your rent? Well, Mr. Alkany, I'd like to say that this. So when it comes to talking about vouchers and rent, there's already a federal program in place that helps all of you, regardless of you having a job and paying rent cash, or if you're a Section 8 housing choice voucher holder, whether you're in the projects, whether you're in subsidized. And so I don't know if a lot of you are aware of this. They didn't do a very good job of publishing this outside of the Treasury Department and a few state facilities, but it's called ERAP, Emergency Rental Assistance. Many states decided to use their own acronyms, and so you find ERAP is the most common. Next to that would be RAP, and you should apply for that. The rules were absolutely ridiculous this last year. This year, they've eased it up, and I think after the news agencies picked up that we only managed to disperse 6.2% of all the trillions of dollars for rental assistance, people became very angry around the country, and now the terms in order to get this rental assistance going forward. Let me just explain what ERAP does. If you're at risk of losing your place because you can't pay rent, simple as that. You owe back rent, or you're not going to be able to pay rent this month, and this will be a program you might be able to utilize. The terms are different for every city and state. And so with that being said, with the ERAP, it would allow you to receive 90-day chunks of rent. So every 90 days, if your situation has not changed, you would continue to receive assistance with rent. This would go on for the following 18 months. And so you'd want to look into that. I did consulting for that type of work between January, February, and March. It was, I got to tell you, you guys almost exhausted me with that. I was working crazy hours trying to work through everybody's case to make sure you were given the right answers, and didn't give them a way to trip you up and then get your application denied. Did hundreds of appeals, I think, in total. I helped you guys get around $2.3 million. It has nothing to do with me. I was not, I don't take any part in the collection of the money. I'm just saying that it isn't hard to reach $1 million when you have hundreds of people that owe, 1,000 to 20, sometimes even 40,000 in rent. So ERAP or RAP is what you should be looking in. And that, if you don't know what that's about, then I would suggest contacting me by comment through my website or whatever it may be, or you can book an appointment. While we're doing all that, I'm going to go ahead and put in the chat window real quick It's going to be on my website. And also, if you want to book an appointment, look, guys, I have no problem with whether you're young or old. I know a lot of people like to do things themselves. These are perilous times, okay? What worked then may not work now. And I got to tell you, anytime you're gambling with whether or not you're going to get on the housing, whether you're going to get a waiting list, whether you're going to get a voucher, or even find a place to live, you're taking a big gamble these days, because the reality is, once you fill in applications, those answers that you give are a matter of public record, and then there's no going back and saying, oh, well, whoopsie, I didn't mean to give those answers. I'd like to change them for a better result and a higher position on the waiting list. They're not going to buy that, okay? That's what I'm telling you. A lot of you guys are gambling with your housing situation and hoping for the best. Look, if it took me this long to learn as much as I do know currently, and you think you're going to strike out there and do this on your own, and it's all going to work beautifully in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of a housing crisis, in the middle of an eviction crisis, in the middle of a really just shitty year, then you're delusional, okay? You're specifically delusional, and you should seek out help, okay? Anyways, going back to what I was originally saying, I'm going to give you a link there. I'm not suggesting anybody pay me anything, hire me to do a damn thing. You can make your own judgment. I've made over 200 videos, 7 years on this YouTube, and I think my reputation speaks for itself. I already know I'm the best in the nation. The worst you could do is hire the second or third best. All right, moving on. So I'm going to take a look at a few more questions. Monette Jenkins says true, and then she goes on to say many places don't have vouchers. That is absolutely correct. So everybody knows at this point, we were talking specifically about a month ago to 2 months ago, the eviction crisis hit. Okay, so you have, what was that? Between 10 million to 40 million people that absolutely knew they couldn't pay their rent. They're sitting on a ticking time bomb. They know the minute that the eviction memorandum was lifted, that they knew the landlord was to make a race to the bank to evict them. And that also includes you that are living in projects that are owned by the housing authority and other types of buildings. You owed rent. So what that did is it caused a massive wave of people essentially to be evicted. And then so all these vouchers flooded back into the housing authority. Then all the people that lost their places now are re-entering the housing authority wanting the same thing again. So I've seen 3 massive waves over a 60-day period now of people coming and going, getting evicted. And then now you got a bunch more, like a wave of people that are trying to get these. And so let's talk about where the problematic areas are in this country. Now, we already knew pretty much what the pandemic was done as far as the evictions, but one of the real things I want to talk to you about is some of the parts of the country that are absolutely struggling to the point that they're saturated. So a lot of you guys are not going to like me after I tell you, but state of California, look, guys, if you're not in Northern California, it is immensely hard at this point. Waiting lists are reaching 200,000 in certain cities like Orange and LA. You go up to New York, you're talking about Queens, Bronx, Manhattan, and some of the other bigger cities in the New York area. It's an absolute nightmare. You would think with as many people evicted, they already had people waiting in line to actually take the key to the door the minute the other person was evicted. It happens so fast that there's almost not even an in-between with it. Those of you in Jersey, anywhere in the state of New Jersey is difficult. State of Florida, unless you live in areas outside the big cities, it's an absolute chaos over there. Let's talk about Nevada, craziness. Las Vegas, craziness. So, the lower West Coast for California, the upper East Coast, any of those major cities going up, Chicago. The state of Florida has always been problematic because it's political, let's just say politics there. And it doesn't matter to me what side that you're on, but politically speaking, the whole state is booby trapped with this stuff. So it was that state's always just been a massive problem when it comes to people being low income. They simply don't appear to care. And that's just my opinion. Now, we do have states that are doing well, like Denver and Colorado, and up the Midwest. And some of your southern states aren't so bad, a bad option these days. However, I just wanted to tell you that if you live in one of these big metropolitan areas, that we are struggling. And to give you a prime example is, let's take a look at Miami. They opened a waiting list for 24 hours. Would you like to know what happened? Something that I had never seen before. Got a population of 90,000. I'm sorry, not 90,000, about 220,000 over there. You know how many people applied for the Section 8 voucher for that city? And a correction again, I think Miami's closer to 400,000 to 500,000. But to give you an example, they had 5,000 vouchers to give, which you might think is a lot. Here's the crazy part: 90,000 people applied. This is not the city of New York. It's not the city of Houston or Chicago. Okay, 90,000. That's 1/4 of the population. That's extraordinary numbers. Your numbers should be, for most open waiting lists, should be around at 2 to 6%. 25% of the city applied. This is playing out in every American city in the country right now. We're not seeing a small percentage of people. We're seeing the low class, the middle class, the no class, the homeless, everybody stacked in. So unless you're medium class up, barely medium class or up, everybody's applying for these. So it's a pretty serious situation. And then we have a cross section of this. That's where we're seeing some states and counties that are they're basically printing these things, man, like their gift cards. And then I've got people coming to me booking consult. Hey, Jay, we got vouchers. The vouchers are popping out of that building. However, there's not a single landlord I can rent from. So, we're also seeing one of the greater migrations in the U.S. because people aren't stupid. Yeah, their option is to go stay in a shelter that's riddled with people that have COVID. Okay, risk your life. And most shelters are either closed or half capacity. So that's one option. The other option is you pack all your shit and you move somewhere else. There isn't another option. I've been told my elders and my older folks, my seniors, the most resistant. I've lived here all my life. I'm not moving out the zip code. Well, guess what? This year you absolutely are. You absolutely are, because there's no other option. It's either that or you go buy a tent and go live in the woods, because there is no other options for certain cities. One of the things I've utilized heavily throughout this career of doing this is COC, Continuum of Care, Housing First, and Rapid Rehousing, and many other different programs, and those have now become saturated. What was once kind of a cool secret, and I was running people through that, taking SPDAT tests, getting assessment, getting people a key, a voucher within 35 days. That system has now been inundated because people have figured it out of desperation. So I don't think anymore it's really in principle whether or not I'm going to be able to get you a voucher. I think it's whether or not you're going to be able to live where you want to live. At this point, you must be willing to pack up your stuff, put it all in the wagon, and be willing to go over 1, 2, 3 counties. And if you live in some of the more severe states, then I'm going to suggest that maybe for once, for a year of your life, that you may need to live in a different place. And that includes those of you that are retired on Social Security disability, whatever it is. Look, nobody wants to move to somewhere strange, but if you don't have another choice, if there isn't another option, then I don't know what to tell you. If you're going to roll around through YouTube and Google, you'll notice very quickly, section8consulting.com. I own it. I'm the #1 consultant in the nation. I rank #1 on YouTube. I rank #1 on Google. Check it for yourself. So you can say, okay, well, I'm not going to take your advice. Well, what are you going to do? Take the advice of somebody that's second best, third best, 10th best? Are we going to go to Facebook and possibly buy gift cards and get scammed? That's the thing, guys. You can either take the advice or, you could ask God to help you. But I'm going to tell you, if anybody's a firm believer, God don't want nobody broken under the bridge, okay? He don't want you to be stupid about this. So you've got to do what's necessary, even if it means living out of state for a year, and then I port you back into your normal city. Thing is, we have to ride out the situation, and we have multiples going on. A hot, overheated housing market. Landlords have been burned or scared to rent. We've got too many vouchers flooding, too many people that need the vouchers, not enough money getting out, and then the rental assistance at a trickle. It's like every worst storm at once, creating a mega storm. So I guess the goal is not to be negative, but I think the reality of it is, this is that one-time lifetime event, once in 100-year event where things go absolutely terribly. And we have to be very clever and cunning in our ways in order to ensure our housing. Nobody's designed to live outside, guys. Okay, so you need to think about that. You need to think about your old, your young, your children, your disabled children, and other people with special needs. Look, if you want to work with me, then really be prepared to work. Okay, I've had a few clients recently. Hey, you know what? I paid for a consult. I get on, they talk for 1 minute, and then tell me, well, you just called me when the voucher's in the mail. So with that kind of client, what I normally do is I hang up and refund the money, because it lets me know that you're deluded, that you don't, all the screws in your brain are not working correctly, and that you're not prepared for life just yet. So I can only refer those type of clients to the homeless shelter, because they're not ready for reality. For the rest of you that are able to manage your situation mentally, and willing to work. I'm willing to work with anybody. It wouldn't matter to me if you're bipolar, schizophrenic, or just completely far out. As long as you have a willingness, I'm not going to give up on people just because they've got other issues. That's part of my job, is being able to work with the most difficult situations and people without and truly be unbiased by it. However, there are some people, sadly, they create situations that are just bad, and I'm unable to work with them. So, anyways, moving on. Monique Burns. Oh, hello, Monique. So, if many of you know now, if you'll see Monique Burns here in my live chat, she does an exceptional job of making videos about Section 8. She's a large real estate agent in the Detroit area. We've been communicating back and forth. Her videos often compete with mine, which is good because I've not had much competition in the past 7 years. But anyways, y'all should check out Miss Burns's channel. She makes some decent videos. I can tell you, there's a lot of people that talk nonsense, and Monique Burns is not one of them. She does her research, and she's on point when she makes her videos. So I appreciate that. Also, with Miss Burns, I will be doing a collaboration with her. Unfortunately, the last couple of weeks I've been off and I've not had an opportunity to really figure out how we're going to do it yet, but we're in talks. So next up is going to be Monette Jenkins. Sorry. I was thinking about moving to Houston. My voucher is only $881 in Idaho. In Houston, it's between $905 and $1,316, depending on zip code. I'm thinking about moving there. Well, Miss Jenkins, Texas in general is a good option. It's actually a good option for any of you anywhere in the nation you are. Why? Because employment in our state is extremely high. We're a big old state. There's lots of housing to be had. However, Houston and some of the smaller towns surrounding Houston, the housing authorities are closed. So they're not doing any billing or reporting, but some of the other areas are. And you have choices of Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth. We host 3 or 4 of the largest cities in the nation. So, and the cost of living is so much different and lower here than it is for you guys on the West Coast and East Coast. So your Social Security check would have been evaporated while you live in a broom closet in New York. Over here, that would entitle you likely to live in a very ordinary life and pay reasonable prices. You see my point? I try to push a lot of you guys into Texas because of that. Now, again, don't let your political side get in the way. I know a lot of you, well, that's a red state or blue state. Don't worry about politics. Worry about your quality of life and where it's affordable to live. Jasmine Victoria, I'm glad to see you again. She's a long time member. Been around since almost day one with me, close to it. And she's a well-respected member. Hey, guys, if y'all don't know this, you do have the option to become a member of the channel. Look, when you do that, you pay like $1, $2, or $3. And what I do is I rescue cats. I favor cats. A lot of my videos, you see me with cats. So what I was going to say is when you purchase that, what I'm doing is it goes towards the care of these different cats that I save. And what I do is I actually save them. Some of them are missing eyes, broken legs, have been shot, have other terrible things have happened to them. And so that's part of what I do. I don't just help people. I help cats. The reason I don't help dogs as much is, one, there's not that many dogs where I am. And number two, that would be a hard deal to do. 22 cats and 1 dog. It would not work out very well. So I'm going to leave that to my dog lovers to help the dogs, but I am a big advocate of cats. Moving on, JC Pruitt, another member that's been around a long time. Back when I was looking for a place, I contacted a few complexes. And at one point, some of these complexes did accept Section 8 vouchers. They no longer do they accept them. Mr. Pruitt, yes, things are changing so rapidly. That's why I have been hammered to death by real estate agents going, what do we do for our clients? They're calling me because they're even real estate agents and brokers are having a lot of difficulty getting housing or helping their clients find Section 8 housing. I'm not necessarily the type of person that does housing search. However, I do make that a part of some of my cases. But I would say that my skills at helping people find Section 8 properties or equivalent to what a licensed real estate agent or broker could do, simply because I specialize kind of in that area. What I guarantee results no more than any other landlord, any other real estate agent. It really does come down to luck with this stuff and having the right resources in place. The MLS is not going to indicate whether or not a property is Section 8. It's a lot of work involved in finding them type of properties. Okay, let's talk about, we got another client here. Kiss by Dark Sky says, well, So many messages here, guys. I tell you what, you guys are really hammering me. I'm still scrolling down. I completely lost my place. So I'm going to be going at a little bit of random here. I think I just about found my spot. Okay. Monette Jenkins can't find any housing in Idaho. It's either 1,200 to 1,600 for one bedroom. That's that inflation I was talking about with the housing crisis. A lot of landlords and also investors that own these properties. A lot of people, investors, are buying these houses, they're not leasing them at all, or they put extraordinary terms of rent on them that pretty much ages you. It basically puts it out. So even if you had a voucher, you would almost actually be paying the total rent cash anyways. The voucher would do nothing for you. So that's the cross point we're reaching. And yes, Idaho is definitely a state that is struggling. I'm sorry, not a state, but they're struggling out there in that area. So, and I know you said you're considering California. Don't do that. Please don't. Look, I love California. I've been out there. That's a really terrible idea, guys. Going to California is not a good idea if you're looking for low income housing, unless you're going to go up north. And I don't mean go and live in San Francisco. So, all right. Scrolling down a little bit more. Tommy Thunder. I've been trying to sell on eBay. What? Oh, Mr. Thunder. So somebody found one of my older videos about eBay and Amazon. Well, Tommy, I would love to help you with that. I really don't special. I mean, I own a huge rock and mineral shop. Matter of fact, guys, I'm going to bring that up right now. I'm going to give you all some information about that. So as you'll know that I've been working on that other YouTube channel, and it's going to be for those of you that like Chikara, Reiki. If you're a rock hound, gems, minerals, crystals, and so on, you'll love what I've got. It's about 10 metric tons, over 500 types of products and stuff. I'm reaching that point where I'm getting close to rolling all of it out. Still working on the Shopify store and so on. Anyway, I'll put some links there. I can take a look. It's not ready yet. Developing websites it takes time and it takes skill to do the SEO. So I was let you know. I will make the official announcement about all that, but it's in no relation to Section 8. So let's move on to some more questions. Kansas is apparently issuing new vouchers, yet there is so little housing available. Yep, Kansas has been affected. I think that the bigger picture here is it's just about every city now. Any city over 250,000 is pretty much saturated. Ms. Monique Jenkins says, oh my God, 90,000 people applied for 5,000. Yes, that is correct. 25% of the city of Miami applied for vouchers. That's unheard of. Completely out there. Trust me on that. D says, this may be a little bit off topic, but can you buy a house with Section 8? Well, D, I get a lot of questions about home purchase and Section 8. So let's clear up some of the things where the confusion sets with using vouchers and then trying to purchase a home. There are a lot of people making videos about this, and then the next week they're making videos about fidget spinners, and then the week after that they're they're going to become a doctor, and then the week after that they become a psychiatrist. You see, that's the problem. There's a lot of idiots making videos about home purchase. Look, if you're not a licensed real estate agent, if you've not been certified by HUD to talk about housing and purchasing home, then anything you're watching on YouTube is an absolute travesty and a joke. So moving on from that, I am not a licensed real estate agent, but I'll tell you what I know in respects to that. Number one, the program rolled out in 2000 would allow those of you that receive a housing choice voucher from your local housing authority that are participating in the program would allow you to go out and purchase a home in normal terms. Fannie Mae, Fannie Mac. I think I'm saying this right. Actually, this is something y'all should discuss with Monique Burns because she is an agent and she knows better than me. So with this being said, this would allow a person, rather than you giving that money is as rent to the landlord or to the landlord, you're using that money, your portion, your rent responsibility would be used towards your mortgage. That is all it is. You guys have come up with a lot of crazy ideas about, if I've got a voucher that entitles me to purchase a home. Look, it all boils down to one thing. Instead of writing that check to the landlord, you're writing it to the bank where you have your mortgage. That's all it is. Now, in addition to these things, I believe there's President Joe Biden will allow those of you for first-time home buyers or people that have not purchased a home in the last 3 years to be able to utilize a free grant, which would give you $25,000 down, and then of course there's other programs like the USDA loan. If you're living outside the metropolitan area in a country area, if you have the right amount, if your credit score is right, and you have a feasible job, they will allow you to have zero interest and zero down payment, so on. Again, I'm speaking without any qualification in this area. So you know, if you guys are looking to see whether or not your housing authority is participating, the only way to know that is to call. I can't keep a list of 5,400 counties. It's too much. It would be too sophisticated because things are changing rapidly from every housing authority, and they're in every city, you know. And so for every city, there's a housing authority, and for every state, there's hundreds of them. So it's a lot to keep a track of. All right, let's take a look at some more questions here. Rocky Manaja, I'm trying to move out the state ASAP. Well, Rocky, I definitely can understand that. If you need help with it, man, shoot me a message. Monette Jenkins also says, me too. Victoria, I missed that video to get COC vouchers. Jasmine, I'm surprised you missed any of my videos. You've seen so many. All right, scrolling on down. Let's see what else we got in here. George Henry, I'm going to hire you to port my tenant-based voucher to Colorado. So, Mr. Henry, what we need to do with TBAs, or what they better known as tenant-based vouchers, what we're going to have to do with that is specifically talk with a housing specialist trying to convert your TBV, tenant-based voucher, or your PBV, over to HCV, and then you can port it. Unfortunately, if it's subsidy or under LITch program, there's a few additional steps. But yeah, whenever you're ready to do so, I'll be happy to do like they do in Star Trek. I will teleport you, all of your stuff, your family, children, whatever you got. I'll move you to wherever you want to go. I know in 2019, a lot of people were surprised to find that I could send them to Hawaii. Okay, Honolulu. It's true. You absolutely can, as long as you can afford to live there. Brian Guerreros. All right, so I got an email from Brian. Unfortunately, I hadn't had a chance to respond because I got so many. Now, this fella here did consulting with me. He has been successful in actually getting his voucher. He'll actually offer to write me a review. I don't often get time to do this, guys, but if you look on section8consulting.com, you'll see there are hundreds of reviews in the communities channel for this channel. You'll see hundreds of copies of real housing authority vouchers I published. So what I do is not a mystery. It is not a phantom game. It is not me with a good talking game. It's me proving over years and years and years that what I do is just as good and just as effective one week to the next. I rapidly change. Every time we change a president, we change rules, federal rules, regulations, new manuals, new testing, and new methods. And of course, every city can change its policies, and I have to rapidly keep up with that to keep you guys in a situation where you always have an advantage. It's about the worst thing you could ever do in your life is go grab you a paper application at the housing authority and write a bunch of nonsense in there, because if you don't give them the kind of answers that they're looking for, if you don't have the right preferences built into that application, you're absolutely going to wait a lifetime. And a lot of you guys not getting that through your thick skulls. Oh, well, it's straightforward. I'm just going to put my information and I'm going to hope and wish they call me. Look, this is not reality, okay? Look, reading through hundreds of thousands of pages of regulation and data manuals, it does not work the way you might have imagined. Neither do these lotteries. All right, moving on from there. Chantel, you missed my question. I apologize, Chantel. It's hard to scroll up and down here sometimes. Shoot me another one at the bottom here because I'm almost through all the questions. Liz Tenton says, thanks. You're most welcome. Susan Ahmed, I'm still waiting for the Section 8 voucher to open up in Jefferson County. Yes, I think that, at one point, about 30 to 35 days ago, almost 97% of all housing authorities closed. So this is what you can expect from your local government during the worst crisis. Instead of ponying up and answering the phone and actually earning their fucking paycheck, they did exactly what I predicted they'd do. They snipped the phone lines, bolted the door shut, went home, watched Netflix, and 97% of the housing authorities in America did what? They shut down. Oh, well, we can't deal with it. It's just too much. Today's too hard to earn a paycheck. Look, guys, this is the kind of bullshit you have to deal with when you're dealing with housing authorities, okay? Instead of them being open and hiring more people to help people, instead of doing that, they turn off the phone lines, go home. Let me repeat it. We're watching Netflix and we're having a gin and tonic. Don't give a shit about nobody, okay? That's what you can expect from your local housing authority. Nothing but attitude and bullshit. I deal with these people every day. Even I went into this a long time ago thinking, okay, well, there must be some reasonable people. Highly unlikely. What I can tell you is you look through my channels and videos, you'll see thousands of examples of people being treated like trash. Like I'm talking about Third Street hooker trash, okay? This is them contacting the housing authority. And they were upset because you actually ring their phone. The phone rang and somebody lost their mind. They actually had to do their job. I'm just warning you guys. When you're dealing with housing authorities, you better know what you're doing the first time. I've got a lot of clients that have been discriminated on in the principal fact of they call too many times. What? You said you need a light bulb replaced? That's the last time you bother me. We're going to be recommended to be thrown out the program because we've had enough. You emailed me 3 times in one day. We warned you not to be a problem. Emailing, we don't do that no more. There'll be no emails. You must walk, crawl up here and beg. This is the kind of shit you deal with housing authority. A lot of guys don't believe me, but those of you who have suffered through all the shit going on, you'll see that that is a reality with a lot of housing authority because we're hiring people that just got their diploma out of a bubblegum machine. These people don't care. I'm telling you, at noon, you'll drive through Taco Bell, you'll see her in the window pissed off, and then at around 1 o'clock, she will clock in at the housing authority and she will be your housing specialist. I see this repeatedly. Ignorant, hateful, indecisive people working at the housing authority have never read a manual in their life. I can't think of how many times I got on the phone with these people and try to quote federal regulation law. The whole phone line goes dead and hang up. Why? Why would somebody hang up when you start quoting that? It's simple. They're simply overwhelmed. They've never had to do much more than barely tap their keyboards, enter a few lines of code in their computer. And so when you actually challenge them to do anything more than 50 cents of work, they become stressed out, hang up, and upset. This is the equivalent. And for those of you who are wondering what it requires to be a housing specialist, these almighty people that control your vouchers, $150 in a 40-minute video. Okay? I can go out and I can go to the local homeless shelter and I can round up 16 of the worst crackheads and prostitutes. And by the end of the week, I can make them housing specialists. Tell me the difference between the people you're dealing with and the people that I could actually go and send down to the housing authority to work there. That's what you're dealing with. So I'm on this tear because I'm sick of them. I'm sick of the way most of you have been treated through the system. And that's exactly why I represent what I do on these channels, to ensure that people actually get a fair shake with this stuff. Because if you don't, then you'll be treated like you're a prisoner in a county jail with these people. They'll do all kinds of things. And so I don't want to speak conspiracies. I'm only speaking from experience. I talked with 2 ladies today where they've been treated so badly because a lot of people just too scared to go up against the local housing authority. So I think I've said enough about that. It makes my blood boil. And whenever that happens, I tend to use a lot of profanities and it gets real in my videos. So I think we're going to walk away from that a little bit and then move on to some more questions. So Liz Trenton says, nice haircut. We're working on that. Again, I'm working next time in about 3 weeks. Going to get this a little bit better. I bought this stuff. I thought this was hair gel. I sprayed it in. It doesn't actually gel your hair. It just makes it shiny. So I didn't know. Any of you ladies understand what I'm supposed to be putting in here to make my hair a little bit more stiff? I would love to know. Beyond that, we'll move on to the next question. Nikki Jenkins, how long can you be on housing? Well, let me give you a ridiculous example of how long. There are families in New York and New Jersey that are generational housing voucher holders. In other words, the family, the grandmother, the mother, and now the granddaughter have managed to hold one voucher cap to pass it down for over 60 fucking years. This is part of the reason why it's so corrupt and so hard to get a voucher in New York and New Jersey, because they've been playing those games for a long time in those 2 states, and I call them generational vouchers. Do they really exist? No, not in that name. But yes, you can hold on to one for an eternity if you can wrangle it legally. And a lot of people that received these back in the 70s and 80s still have them 50 years later. So I hope that answers your question. And no, not everywhere in the country can you do that. I'm just saying that New York and New Jersey are especially indifferent to that. Kelly Rabe. What about refugees from Afghanistan? My state says they're going to take in thousands and they're going to go. Okay, first thing you need to understand is a lot of you guys are bringing up the Afghanistan part. Okay, Section 8 has nothing to do with whether or not they receive housing in that manner. Okay, so refugees are not applying for Section 8 housing. It's a whole different federal program that is not controlled by the housing authority. If it is addressed, it would be done through FEMA or another federal agency. People that would be coming from Afghanistan will not be competing for the same vouchers. Okay, even if they were, it would take quite a while before they would even happen, and then they would be granted a whole different payment system towards this. Okay, so I'm not going to make the whole video about that, but for those of you that are super concerned about 300,000 Afghanistan people coming here and overblowing the Section 8 voucher system, that's not going to happen. If anybody is stressing the system anymore, it's the middle class, because Section 8 vouchers and subsidized properties have been in principle mostly for extremely low income and low income. When all the middle class people halfway around the country all of a sudden went from middle class to zero class, no class, broke, no job, they now entered the low income market and the extreme low income. And so now we've doubled what we consider, we doubled the population of extreme low income now. So I hope that explains it. Brittany MED Rando, I'm sorry. Don't do it. Colorado is terrible. Okay. Well, at one point I did live in Colorado. I got to tell you, I had a hard time adjusting to the altitude. I didn't realize that breathing was going to be so much of a problem there. And then I went to Mile High near the Indian casinos. I thought I was going to pass out getting up the mountain. I had a hard time. Apparently, it compresses the nitrogen in your blood or something, and you just feel terrible. So I was going to mention that. I don't know the total situation in Colorado, but I do know one thing. A lot of those counties, I don't think it's bad everywhere in Colorado. Maybe Denver, but I've had plenty of success in a lot of the smaller counties throughout Colorado. Okay, now if we're talking next to the bigger cities like Denver, then of course there's always going to be issues in relation to that. But Colorado as a whole state is not known for being even a fraction. It doesn't have the fraction of the difficulty that many of the other states do. Michelle, what do I do when the local HA has the waiting list closed and not accepting applications? Well, Michelle, that goes back to the principal idea of what I was speaking about. Look, if the housing authority is closed or not giving vouchers, your business in that county, that specific county, is done. Forget it. Put gas in the wagon. It is time for you to drive over the county line. And let's just make a good example. I live in Houston. And if Houston says there's no voucher to be had, we're closed, goodbye, I'm going to drive to Brazoria County, 20 minutes away. I'm going to hit Galveston County, 40 minutes away. I'm going to hit Brazoria County, 30 minutes away. Conroe County. You see my point? I'm going to hit them all. It's a game of bingo. If you're doing the application right, you really know what you're putting in there, and you're really getting the priority and special preferences you need, then it's just a game of bingo and finding weaknesses. And that goes into what I do. But for those that are just looking, you got to hit. Look, in the old days, you applied in one or two counties. Now you need to hit every single one around you. You've got to give yourself as many opportunities as possible. And I don't care if you end up having to live in a small town that you don't care for, 5 counties over. If that's what it takes in order to get you housing these days, we're reaching those very difficult times where we're having to do that. A lot of clients are moving out of state. That's why I say I've got clients migrating from one city to the next, one state to the next. They have no other choice. Look, guys, with the pandemic, it is what it is. I don't care if you believe that there's a virus or not. I don't care whether you wear a mask or not. But what I do care about is this. You go up in one of these shelters, it's already mixed up with disease and other things. Now you want to go in there during a pandemic, it's deadly. It is absolutely deadly. You guys lose housing, you get evicted, and you end up in a shelter. That is the fastest way to a coffin that you'll ever see in your lifetime. I'm serious. Do not risk your housing on stupid decisions. All right, let's move on to a few other things here. Brian Guerrero, can I use my voucher? Max pay is $1,026 for the apartment, and the apartment is above 1026. Well, Brian, you would want to speak with your housing specialist, and it's a negotiation. The housing authority is going to negotiate with the landlord. So just because the landlord says, "Hey, I want 1,026," does not mean he's going to get that specifically from the housing authority. So it is a negotiation. A lot of you don't realize this, but rents can be negotiated whether it's a private landlord or a corporate landlord. In other words, the housing authority can make a simple phone call and say, "Hey, look, Jim, we know you own an investment group. You've got 100 units, but here's the deal. You can rent these for 1,026 to all your market rate people, but if you want to utilize our Section 8 voucher program and receive $1,000 incentive, then you're going to have to lower your rent by $50." So in other words, Brian, you're going to want to negotiate between the landlord and the housing authority, and sometimes they're able to get that. Also, you can ask for a hike or a rent reasonableness hike in there. So you can reassess. Now, that is a dual-edged sword. Sometimes you get reassessed. They may actually give you a voucher worth even less. I would say that developing a good relationship with your housing specialist or director of the program there would be a good deal. Jackie MT says, "Wow, Mom, 901 Mommy, thank you for the information." Sure, absolutely. I appreciate having you on the channel. Jasmine says, "I believe you." Miranda Nelson, "Use hair mousse." You know what? I do remember the old mousse back in the 90s. Maybe that's what I've got to get. Miss Deborah, I believe I'm saying that right. That appears to be a Cajun name. Deborah. I don't know if you're from Louisiana like me originally, but I do recognize a name that looks very much French. Welcome to the channel. Thank you for telling the truth. Well, Ms. Deborah, one thing I'm exceptional at on this channel is keeping it very real with or without profanities. And I don't pull any punches. I'm gonna tell people what it's like, specifically what's on my mind. If it offends, oh well. There's other channels you can watch, but that's one thing that a lot of people stick around and watch me. I don't choreograph myself like some 30-year-old white woman on the news. Okay, nothing I do is plastic. It's very real. When I speak to you, it's real. When I make videos, it's real. And when I use profanities, it's real. Thing is, I'm only interested in telling you the way it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat shit for you. So beyond that, insert name says, "Can you explain the difference between the different consultation packages you'd recommend?" Let's talk about that, guys. Through 2021, I've been kind of exploring different packages that I offer. And it's not to see, I'm not testing the limits of whether or not how much will they pay or how much will they not pay. What I've been testing to see is about how much time do people actually need to talk to me and how much time would they need for me to do consulting work or casework. And what I've come up with is the average person can communicate fairly well in 20 minutes what the problem is that's going on with them. So as an initial conversation, I would recommend a 20-minute conversation. When you start reaching 30, it's just at that point, you're really just wasting your money. Now, if you actually need real, so you decide, okay, I'm going to take this guy's advice in 20 minutes. I'm going to go out and go get it done. That's fine. Now, if you don't want to do that, I would recommend booking me for a 30-minute consult where we're able to talk 2 times. And then I'm able to actually work on your case and negotiate part of what we're doing through casework. It's not the cheapest, but look, what is your alternative? You can hire the second or third person best out there, and a lot of these people do not know much. You can hire an attorney. He's going to want 20 times what I want. And the main thing is, look, I'm well practiced at this. I don't need 15 hours to solve a case. A lot of the stuff I've done so many times, it's repetitious for me. But the casework ensures I get things done for you. One thing I'd always tell you guys, look, I wouldn't survive in YouTube for 7 years. I would not have the largest YouTube channel for Section 8, and I definitely would not have the #1 ranking consulting firm on YouTube. YouTube would not put a scam artist as a #1 person on Google. So what I can tell you is this: my reputation stands alone. I get it done. But here's what you'd never hear from a person that is intending on being honest. A dishonest person would tell you about all the wonderful shit they can do for you. They would sugarcoat it all and make it sound like a beautiful little unicorn. Thing about this is, guys, I have a failure rate. It is 7%. When you hire me, the odds are 7% of the time your case will absolutely fail. I will not be able to fail. I will not be able to help you, and your whole case will flop 7% of the time. 93% of the time is my success rate. Sometimes it goes as low as 90. It's still better odds than you have with the lottery. But that's the reality. I'm not infallible. Not everything I do is perfect. In some cases are simply too complex. Some of my clients have too many mental problems, challenges going on with them for them to be able to constructively work with me to resolve their case. So that's why there is a 7% rate. So I always tell people, make the best decisions you can with this. But if you don't want to sit there and watch 200 videos, try to research Title 24, read federal regulation, data, code, and other manuals, you don't want to spend the next 6 months reading and watching videos, a lot of which are outdated, and the information on Google is horrific. A lot of you guys, another thing is a lot of you pull your research from HUD.gov. I hate to shock you, but HUD.gov, being a federal agency website, that's actually run by young people fresh out of college, and a lot of that information is outdated. It's been outdated for at least 8 years. It's terrible advice, and it's generic at best. And so a lot of people, they speak as if HUD.gov was the Bible. And it's just filled with so much bullshit that's so inaccurate that it doesn't even play a part in reality. One thing HUD.gov is not good at is I'm not just good at dealing with one housing authority. If I'm dealing with 50 states, that means I'm dealing with hundreds of counties. Each county, I do open federal request command and get their operations manual, their data manual, and then I'm learning their algorithm, So that's their data plans. And then I'm looking at the 2410, so subsection 2410, and then I'm looking at policies and procedures. So I have to do that for every single county in the nation. If you don't have that kind of information, that's why I tell people, when you watch a video about somebody saying, I'm a housing authority employee, you should listen to everything I'm saying in the video. Let me tell you something. That person is only useful in that county. The minute you drive over the county line, she and that person making that video saying I'm a former housing authority employee, what she knows is absolutely worthless. The difference between me and her is how many cities and states I've been tried and tested on. Look, I would say, hey, if I have such a failure in Florida, then I've only covered 49 states. So that's the thing. When you hire me, it's like hiring 500 housing authority employees, And that's a library of 13,000 manuals. Anytime you want to sit down and read with me, we're going to take a couple of years. All right, let's move on to some more questions. I got to go back a little bit because you guys are hammering me pretty hard about questions. 901 Mommy says, I'm trying to port a voucher to Atlanta, but I have 5 more months until my lease is up. Okay, so if you're, look, guys, for porting, when you're about 45 days from the end of your lease, you're going to want to start that process with your portability specialist, which is sometimes the director of program, or it could be the housing specialist. You're going to need to research not only the housing authority there to see if they're willing to do the billing, but you're also going to have to research the city you're going to. Then you need to look at the housing market to see if it can accommodate you and whether or not the value of the voucher that you're bringing from a big state or a small state, will they be attracted to accept that, in a new city. This is a process that takes around 45 days. It is not as cut as dry as a lot of you guys are Googling. That's a fantastic, crazy way people make little articles on Google. Oh, well, in 5 steps, just transfer your voucher. Absolute silliness. It takes me up to 45 days going back and forth with portability specialists to figure out whether or not it's going to be sufficient for you to go and, one, tell the housing authority in your local city that, hey, I'm going to be giving up this apartment and I'm going to gamble and move down to another city and I'm hoping and wish that they're A, going to grant it to me, B, that I'm going to be able to find a place. Look, if you're going to port to another city, move your voucher from one city or state, you better damn well hire a consultant, because the ending result is you go end up in a hotel with no place to go, and then you've relinquished your voucher in the worst housing crisis in America. Do not play with that. It's probably one of the more complicated things other than discrimination cases that I deal with. So, can you do it on your own? Absolutely. If you want to try it on your own, I always say, book a consult. Let me give you the advice that's necessary for that, and then you can try it yourself. If you fail to succeed in that end, then hire me just to get you through the process. Moving on. George Henry, I made a mistake. I have HCB and not a TBB. Well, my friend, Mr. Henry, if you've got HCB, that means that you're good to go. We only need to start the portability process in that respect. Okay, it was going to be a more complicated process when we convert TBV or PBV, so tenant-based vouchers or project-based vouchers. We have to convert over. Since you don't have that, and you have HCV, this will go very easily to a certain point, depending on where you are and where we're trying to get you to. All right, moving down. M7 Global Admit. I have a voucher for 1 year through HACA, Austin, Texas. I currently live in Salvation Army for. I've been waiting for an apartment complex to have openings. Would I be able to move? Okay, so you want to know whether or not? Well, yeah, we want to first M7 Global. Let me take a sip of this because I've been talking now nearly an hour straight. Okay, so let's get back to this. First thing first, we need to establish whether or not what kind of voucher you really have. Now, everybody thinks a voucher is a voucher. There are over 138 different types, and that's not including things like rapid rehousing and PSH. These vouchers can be owned by the housing authority, the city, the county, and obviously the feds. So we need to establish what you have. If you have what I think that you do have, then you would need to complete a 1 year lease in the county you're currently in Austin, and then we could port you anywhere in the nation. But we first must establish what type of voucher it is and what type of HAP contract you likely have with it. Same rules are applicable. No matter what type of voucher you have, MSEP Global, in order to go from one zip code to the next, you're going to have to port that. Unless it's a participating county. I think an easier way to approach that is if you're in Austin and you're wanting to go 1 or 2 counties over, just check with that other housing authority to see if it'd be okay. It gets more complex the farther away you get, especially when you cross over state lines. In your opinion, who has the best programming system? Well, so that's a question from Nerese. To be frank with you, I've seen a lot of programs. So when you say program system, I can only assume that you mean policies, procedures, and data manuals. And I would say Nana McKay does a superior job with that. By the way, guys, if you ever wonder who writes all the rules, regulations, and system manuals for every housing authority nearly in America, it's called Nan and McKay. Now, do you know why I've got so much on these people and why I'm so good? If you know who makes the manuals, man, and you read them, it means I know the same thing the housing authorities know, except a hell of a lot better, because they only have their own operational manuals. I have all the other ones. Would you believe me if I told you that when you're in a lottery, you're in a system? That system is an algorithm, and those algorithms are data manuals. Do you think the housing authority employees read that? No, they don't even give them that. So if I read the data manual and it says that if Bob has +1 +1, a 0, +1 +1, and a 0, the algorithm says he goes up higher, but Sally goes down. You see my point? It's me understanding quite literally. I'm not saying to manipulate a system. I'm just saying that if you understand their data manuals and you understand how they're actually designed, these waiting lists, then there's certainly ways to persuade that system to give you what you want. If you can't play on that level, then you're not a consultant. Okay, you're just bobbing, talking head. Anyway, sorry about that. So Nerese, as far as the state is concerned, so Nerese, I would need to talk with you a little bit about that to see specifically what kind. Because when I think about manuals, I can think about 61 different types. We have to get very specific as to which type. I would say hit me up by email on that. M7 Global and Men says, okay, thank you. I believe you. I'm going to check what kind. Okay, no problem. Evelyn NJ, are you back from vacation? What do I do next? Evelyn, well, it started as a vacation 3 weeks ago. I became very sick. I had an infection. Then I went through a very serious kidney infection that damn near put me in a hospital and a lot of other problems. I'm on about 7 medications. I'm doing good today, obviously, but I've had some very, very difficult times. A lot of you guys don't realize this, but since last year, I was working between 12 and sometimes up to 17 or 18 hours a day. Okay. I realize a lot of people don't know that, but I was doing a lot of consults, working around the clock, trying to keep pace. The first hit that I had was during March, and it was so extreme that I was exhausted. Then there was a down period, and y'all brought me to the level of exhaustion between the extreme number of emails and appointments. I was working over 80 hours a week, and I was brought down again to the point of exhaustion. The third time it happened, I had an ischemic attack, which is a mini stroke. In other words, is as a single consultant, I simply cannot meet the demand of the entire country. I appreciate that people believe in what I do and see the results and want to come to me about this, but I've reached a point where it's outgrown as a single individual. However, I'm really not interested in teaching other people so much about what I do because I feel like that would be abused in a lot of ways and, of course, misinformation. So I'm stuck in this terrible position of holding a vast amount of information in my head. And then one day, if I do go from a stroke or a heart attack, then whatever I have will go with me, sadly. I hope to find somebody that's good, that has the right intentions, and I'll try to teach as much as I can to them. But until that happens, I'm going to have to regulate my hours. I can't keep 80 hours a week for a year. And I just did that for you guys, and it damn near killed me. So as you can see, I'm doing good. Color's back to my face, starting to lose weight. Blood pressure's good. So, yeah. All right, let's go back to these questions. Brooklyn says hi. All right, well, hi, Brooklyn. So we finally cleared all the questions. That took about 55 minutes. So, I've enjoyed talking about an immense different number of things, the housing crisis, people trying to get housing, trying to deal with your vouchers. And as I was saying in the beginning of the video, these are tough times, but they're not, the thing of it is you cannot give up. I mean, there's always a solution when you're trying to deal with this. So if the city and the county you're currently in is not going to be able to help you with a voucher and you're closed, then we need to explore other ideas. If this is too much for you to handle, look, all this stuff's time consuming. Thankfully, I only have to invest my time once to figure out certain situations that will improve your situation. A lot of you guys are starting to see after watching, 20, 30 hours of video that it's just not worth it trying to do it on your own. It's not. It'll consume you trying to learn now. There's always more. It looks like Brooklyn said, so here's a question. Brooklyn says, I'm on Section 8 and I want to buy, I assume, a house. And do I need a 670? Well, I'm going to tell you with that. Hi, Maria. I see you when you're one of my VIPs. Several of my VIPs have come in today. By the way, guys, if you want to be a member of the channel, you get a cool badge. And I use that couple of dollars to buy treats and toys and pay medical bills for my 22 mangled kitties. So just as a reminder, I'm not using that at a bar room or for a steak dinner. Okay, I actually use it for the health and benefit of cats that I rescue. So, anyways, Kissed by Dark Sky Hyper Polygamy. That's I got to tell you, you got one of the better names on YouTube. I always like a good long name. That way you're memorable. You must care for yourself first. Yes, I had to learn that too. Some people suspect that it was out of greed that I did all those hours. Let me tell you something. When people tell you, hey, I'm living in an apartment, I've got a 4-year-old and a breathing machine. When we get evicted, when the oxygen gets cut off, they're simply going to die. We're going to die in the woods 30 minutes after taking him off that. I've got elderly people that are in their 90s that have lost everything, every possession they own. And they tell me, well, Jay, today we'll put out the door. All of our shit will be stolen from in front of our house. And then the homeless shelter is closed. So we're going to have to go lay on the concrete between the dumpster and the ditch behind McDonald's until you can help us. This is why I work myself near to death. Because to be frank with you, how the hell can I even go to sleep when I've got people that are in wheelchairs, literally rolling their wheelchair into the woods and cannot even get a fucking bologna sandwich, okay? From all these fake nonprofits and charities. I tell you what, this pandemic has brought the true colors of what nonprofits are. While you see Bob and Sally with their brand new leathers, chairs, and bullshit, and they call themselves a charity, but when the time comes to actually spend money on the people that need it the most, Bob and Sally, they've closed their doors because unfortunately they can't be bothered with low rent, high risk people to do anything with these charities. That's why I don't give money or encourage charities, because it's a fucking joke. You're asking for other people's money and you're not doing shit with it. just like homeless shelters. I could say a lot on that factor as well. But anyways, getting back to that, I hate to get on a tear. And do I think all homeless shelters are bad? No, I just think a lot of them are. So yeah, I've definitely restricted the number of hours that I'm doing things, and I only take a certain number of consults, and I no longer take on consults where I believe it's going nowhere. There's a lot of people that bring in crazy cases. You just really can't help them. So, Lily Jewel, how can I get on Section 8 to buy a home through DCA Dream Home Buying Program? Unfortunately, Lily, the federal government does require me to have a real estate license, broker license, and then on top of that would require me to have additional HUD certification. So I really cannot talk about the home purchase program. What I can tell you is if you receive a housing choice voucher from your housing authority and they are actively participating in that program, then you're able to contact them and they can give you the information. If I start talking about housing and home purchases, then I need to be licensed. That's why I'm surprised that about the 100,000 people making crazy videos about this stuff haven't been arrested or charged criminally for giving out stupid advice on YouTube, because a lot of these talking heads on YouTube should not be doing so. So I apologize. I can't really help you in that area. Hypergamy means beyond class. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, you should be right about that. Barbara Zacone, no profits or BS. I have never seen one actually operate the way they're supposed to. Let's take a good example. Let's talk about goodwill and all that. Now, if you're a staunch supporter of, Salvation Army and all that stuff, so why is it we're giving away Gucci and Versace to them? They sell Gucci and Versace, and then they give the rags to the fucking homeless. The nice people down the street bring barbecue down for the homeless to the shelter, but yet the people in the shelter are eating week old donuts. You see my point? It's all nonprofit. My ass. It is for profit. So you got Brother Bill in his back office running the shelter, sitting in a 3-piece fucking suit with wingtips, but you got homeless people with their underwear and toes that are falling off in this fucking shelter. Meanwhile, you can be assured that door you can't get through, the back offices, all those people working that homeless shelter, they're all sitting pretty nice, pulling up in the brand new 2021, Chevy. Meanwhile, they can't even pay for a bus pass for homeless people. So what do I think of charities? I think they're all shit. Period. But there are some good ones. I'm just not going to advocate for them, okay? But that's really what I think about it. If you're not going to help, just say, hey, you know what? We're dishonest. We don't give a shit about you. We just like to collect other people's money, and then we'll give away 1%, because that's what a lot of that stuff is. All right. Anyways, Sandy Daniels says, to your hair, just use Aussie Headstrong Volume Mousse. This said volume, but apparently the spritcher's not getting it because it says medium hold and it ain't holding nothing. Barbara Zacone, Jay, darling, please address being turned down for HUD because of poor credit. I have never encountered a situation where somebody did not receive a housing choice voucher for poor credit. I've seen the rejection on because of eviction, but I've never seen it for poor credit. So, Ms. Arkell, we had to talk about that one. That's an interesting topic. I'm not apprised of any new federal laws that would make credit history a part of it. Let me ask you a question. If people are going to get a voucher, I don't know of anybody that has a Section 8 voucher has great credit. So that would be a horrifying way to do that. Is, oh, by the way, we know you're already everybody's extreme low income, but we would require now 800 credit score for you to receive the voucher. It's pretty counterproductive. So I'm a little bit concerned as whether or not that would be the primary cause for you. Marilee, I missed your appointment 2 weeks ago due to illness. Well, that's all right, because for the past 3 weeks I was ill too. So I had to move in 20 days. Can't live under anyone due to the noisy sensitivity PSDT. That's a serious diagnosis for those of you know what PTSD is. No guidelines, PHARE combinations needed over payment standards. Well, man, I'm sorry you missed your appointment. You know that you can actually, that email we sent you for your appointment, if we didn't actually have the appointment, when you click on it, it'll allow you to rebook it at a new time. I don't know if you know that. Manly, try a hair pomade. I've tried some pomades in my younger life, and I had a problem with it kind of making my hair like a stone. Uh, I got to see if they change it. I was looking for something a little less young men hair stuff, and more of a middle aged man, because I'm concerned too much alcohol and stuff in that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I figured you ladies would have the solution. I don't think that hair products need to be gender specific. I think it's ridiculous, but I'm just as quick to use hairspray as anybody. M7 Global, how do you determine what kind of voucher? How do you determine the kind of voucher you have? Well, as part of your HAP contract. So when you enter in an agreement with the housing authority or whoever's issuing that voucher, when you enter that agreement, you're signing paperwork, and on there it should indicate that. If it's subsidy, then your landlord would know. And if you still can't figure it out from there, then you would need to make a request with the housing authority to ask. All right. Goodness, these questions keep rolling. Little Jewel, credit score and down payment assistance class completed. Can I get on Section 8? Well, can you get on Section 8? So the client was, somebody's asking me whether they get a Section 8. Well, that depends. One, is the housing authority actually open? Do they have any vouchers to give out? Would it be worth waiting 1 year to 15 years for that voucher? So there's a whole lot of questions you need to consider, Lilia, when asking that question. The first thing is determine whether or not the housing authority is open. So, well, guys, my voice is starting to wane. We've been on here now at least an hour, 20 minutes, hour and 11 minutes. I'm going to have to call it, or I'm going to have to go because I can only talk so long. Why don't we try this again in a few days, and we'll do another Q&A, and I'll try to cover as many questions as I can. And I will be we'll be doing a joint video with another Section 8 personality soon. And anyways, I'm looking forward to talking with you guys. So before I go, look, if you're not subscribed, you're welcome to do so. I'm not going to beg anybody to do that. If you hated the video, please dislike it. Dislike as many as you can. I find that a lot of people that have problems, sometimes it helps them feel mentally better when they dislike videos. So please, if it's going to make your day, dislike as many videos as you can. If you like my videos, like them. You know. One more thing, I'm going to go ahead and give you some links again. I'm not bothered by dislikes and stuff like that. I'm not trivial like that. It's not part of my day or thinking. So I'm going to give you all links for appointments. So you look now, and there we go. You're able to book the consult directly with me. You're also able to check me out my website, and you can also Google me. My name's plenty out there. The second thing is I'm going to give you some links. Now, look, guys, this new YouTube channel, if you get into spiritual, Reiki, Chikara, if you collect gems and minerals, you're a rock hound, you enjoy seeing pretty things, stones, rocks, and jewels, you're going to like my new channel, and we'll be rolling out next 3 weeks. Go ahead and subscribe, and you'll get a little update. Let's see. I got to give you a little new information for that. Bear with me a moment. I'm going to copy it real quick. So this will be the channel link, the website part, and also the email. So there we go. So you're welcome to check it out. There's nothing on the YouTube channel just yet for the Houston Rock Shop. Now, most of you don't know I did e-commerce. Got about 10 metric tons of gems, jewels, minerals, and so on. So for those of you that have always been novice, that'd be a great channel to check out. With that being said, guys, I'm going to let y'all go, okay? Because then my voice is really starting to kill me now. It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor, and I look forward to speaking with you all in the next video in another day. All right. Thank you. Goodbye.